So recently I made a video titled, "Is Chapter 5 the worst chapter?" Which, by the way, it did very well, so thank you guys for that. The video naturally got a lot of comments, and a lot of you that comment like to put your list of favorite, whatever the video pertains to. In this case, chapters, because the video was on Chapter 5. And I noticed that chapters 3 and 4 were almost always at the bottom of the list. Chapter 3 really shocked me, so I might make a video on that eventually. Actually, I'll make you a deal. If this video gets 1,000 likes, then I'll do this same exact video concept, but with chapter 3 also. 1,000 likes. That's the only way I'll do it. I'm not here to talk about chapter 3 today. Today I'm here to talk about chapter 4. Is it actually the worst chapter? That's the question that I'm here to answer today. But real quick before we get into the video, just want to say be sure to like this video if you like this kind of content. Just be sure to subscribe, turn on the bell icon so that you're notified when I'm live, because I do happen to go live a lot. And also be sure to use code Brivy in the item shop whenever you're purchasing absolutely anything. Anyways, I love you and enjoy the video. So kind of like the chapter 5 video, we're going to talk about the most notable stuff from chapter 4, and then we'll kind of just do a brief synopsis of each season. First, let's talk about battle passes. I'm just going to go ahead and get this out of the way. I'm not going to talk about this for the rest of the video. Chapter 4 was the absolute worst chapter 4 battle passes. I could not name you a single skin from any chapter 4 battle pass. I didn't buy a single one. I think that every single one of them are extremely forgettable. None of them were notable at all. In my opinion, this was the worst chapter 4 battle passes. That's just my opinion. I did not enjoy these battle passes. Let's move on. Next, let's look at the map. I'm not gonna lie, not my favorite map. Honestly, probably my least favorite. I think that this map was the least varied, if that makes sense. Yes, this one at its base form, it did have 3 biomes, which is more than I think chapter 2 had. But I mean, the POIs this chapter were just not that great, in my opinion. I only had like 2 or 3 that I actually like to land at. It's probably pretty equal with chapter 5's map. I don't like these graphics, guys. I've said it before, I will say it again. I don't think that these realistic graphics belong in this game. So that's probably the reason why this and chapter 5's map are so low. But I mean, I have to give chapter 5's map respect because there was actually a lot of variety throughout the chapter. This chapter, it was just meh. So this is probably the worst map in my personal opinion. No, that's not to say it was bad. I think it was all right. I think some parts of the map were cool and there were certain POIs were pretty good, but it didn't feel like there was any emotion anywhere. Like you couldn't feel the spaces at all. And that's what I think that these realistic graphics, I feel like that's what it misses. There's no emotion to the places, which you would think it'd be the opposite. The more realistic it gets, the more emotion there is in the places, but you can't feel them as much, in my opinion. But anyway, that's enough about the map. Let's talk about some other stuff that got out of this chapter. Reality augments. What a fantastic idea. I love reality augments. I wish they were still in the game to this day. I think that's a great idea. The fact that you get them over time, everyone gets the same amount. You can re-roll if you have a lot of gold. And it was exciting. Like you wanted to get certain ones and you were hoping for it. And if you didn't, then it's okay. You could try 3 more times. It's a great way to keep the game interesting, and it's a great way to keep every game different because you could play every game different depending on what augments you got. My personal favorites were Aerialist and Forecast. Those were just, I feel like, the best for competitive, and they were just fun. Aerialist was a really, really fun augment because you could just deploy, you could skybase. There were so many content opportunities with that. And Forecast is just really cool. I love being able to see where the next storm is while everyone else does not have that ability. I think that's really cool. And speaking of that, eventually they added the Forecast Tower, which I really love. I just love that whole idea. I love that you can go somewhere, and I mean, you have to earn it, because some people might contest you for it. It's not really like that in chapter 5, but back in chapter 4, like you had to earn it sometimes. And then we also got the floating islands. This is the first time that debuted. That was pretty weird for competitive at first. Just for casual pub players, it was pretty cool. It was a really interesting mechanic. This was kind of the chapter for that, for the things you could claim. Like there was also you could claim the POI and then you would get loot out of it. There were combat caches you could claim and get certain amounts of loot from it. I think that this was the chapter chapter for that, and I mean, hey, they experimented with it and they actually kept a couple of them, so good on you, Epic. Oh yes, also ranked was added this chapter. I actually forget when Siphon was taken out. I feel like that might have been chapter 5, but it might have been right when ranked was added. I don't know. This was when they switched it to ranked. Honestly, I feel like people really hate ranked. I don't hate the concept. I really don't mind it. I think that with the addition of ranked, they kept getting more and more bold with adding stuff to pubs and then adding it to rank too, which I think is really, really stupid. I think that's what's made the game really not fun for competitive players sometimes. Like when a collab item gets added to the game, still to this day, I mean, they put it in ranked. They don't take it out, like they don't split the loot pool. They still haven't to this day, which really, really sucks. I feel like that never really happened with Arena. So anyway, Chapter 4, Season 3 was when Ranked was added. Alright, so now that we've kind of talked about that, let's talk about the weapons. We'll just talk about some of the good ones that I really enjoyed. The red dot, I don't even know what it's called. The red eye rifle, the one that shot single shots. Perfect red dot rifle. It shot really slow, so it was not overpowered in any sense. It hit for a lot of damage. It rewarded accuracy. There was no bullet drop on it. It was extremely fun to use if you had good aim. And the thing that sucks about it is they never... I think it was out of the game either after Season 1 or Season 2, and it hasn't been in the game since, which is really, really sad. I'll say this, Chapter 4 did very well with the weapon meta. I'm not gonna lie. Except for, like, Chapter 4 Season 3. But, like, everything else, I'm talking about just, like, purely weapons. I'm not talking about heals or movement items, whatever. I'm just talking about, like, purely weapons. I think that they did a really good job. Next, we got the Thunder Shotgun. I've spoken about this so much in the past. I love it so much. It's super satisfying to use. It's really unique because it's got that horizontal reticle. It does pretty good damage from distance. The only caveat is it takes a while to reload. They have actually added this back to reload, which is great. I love seeing it back. It's a great weapon, and I'm glad that they've added it back in the game in some aspect. The Havoc Pump Shotgun. This is kind of a universally loved shotgun. Everyone really likes this thing, and the Mythic one was really good, so I get it. I think the Mythic one did 120 damage, like base. It was very good, and it was the first time that like 200 pump was added in I don't even know how long, so that was a big deal at the time. This is a really good gun. I think the fire rate was like about the same as just a regular pump. It hit for more damage. I don't know how much more bullets it had in the chamber. It was a really, really good weapon, but I hope they add it back someday. Those are the main ones. There are obviously some other ones, but those are the ones that I'll talk about. All right, now let's kind of do a brief synopsis of each season. So Chapter 4 Season 1, I think it was pretty good. I think that the event leading into it was really, really bad, so my expectations were a little subverted going into the season, but I actually had a lot of fun. I didn't have a problem with this season really at all. The only thing that really sucked was in competitive, the Shockwave Hammer was really, really, I wouldn't say stupid, but it was very weird just because it broke through builds and end games were not very fun. But casually, it was a good Season 1. Like, you know, we got to explore the map. We had a lot of new mechanics, new things in the game to explore, and it was a really, really good Season 1. Probably among the best, in my opinion. I think this season is extremely underrated. And then we got Season 2. I'm not gonna lie, at the time, I was not a fan of Season 2. And I feel like my perception is a lot different just because I was trying to be a competitive player in Chapter 4. So that's probably, I have a lot different view of it than a lot of people. But this season was just kind of weird because there was so much new stuff added, like, to competitive, and not a lot of it was good. The most notable thing I can think of is that they added the ODM gear and the Thunder Spears to competitive, which was not very cool because they were extremely broken. I remember that specifically. I do like the map changes. I didn't at first, but I like Mega City. It took me a while to come around to it, but I do like it. I like the Havoc Suppressed AR. For some reason, I really like that gun. I don't know why. This is when a lot of like vaults appeared around the map. There was a vault at Mega City. I remember that. This is when Slurp Juice were put back in the game, and they were super broken because you could just heal even if you took damage. Not looking at it from a competitive perspective, I'm sure this season was actually really fun, and I guess that's why people like it so much. Was not a huge fan of the season. Looking back at it, I think that I would enjoy it if I just played it casually. And that makes such a huge difference, guys. I cannot stress that enough. Playing competitively and casually, it's so different when you look back at it. And then we got Season 3. Oh boy. I don't really think I need to go into depth why this season was so bad. I'll kind of give you a little snippet. The map changes were awful. The weapon meta was awful. The theme was awful. The fact that they took arena out of the game was awful. Competitive was awful. There wasn't a lot going for this season. I'm not gonna lie. I just wasn't a fan of it. They just kept putting broken items in the game. It was not balanced at all. I think that balance is very important in Fortnite, and this season was not at all balanced. Cybertron cannon, mammoth pistol, I'm sure there's some other ones that I'm missing, all super broken. But I mean, hey, at least we got the flapjack rifle, so that's pretty cool. I hated that jungle biome so much. It was so bad. I don't think I ever landed at any of those POIs, because I just hated it so much. It just wasn't good. And it took up so much of the map. And then we got Season 4. I didn't play too much of Season 4 just because I was so burnt out from playing Wilds. Anyway, Season 4 was pretty good. I mean, it's kind of a safe move, in my opinion. This season was a Chapter 2, Season 2 ripoff. That's all it was. They took a season that they knew would work, and they just redid it and put a couple of extra new features in it. So I just didn't really see a point in playing this season much, just because I've already played Chapter 2, Season 2. I don't need to play the great value version, you know. That being said, this season was pretty good. I mean, good way to end off the chapter after a not great Season 3. And it was a good segue into OG, and there was some good stuff added, like the scope burst SMG, and the rocket run was pretty fun, unless you were playing competitive, dumb broken. But yeah, Season 4 wasn't bad. I like the map changes. Not a terrible season, just couldn't bring myself really to play it after I'd suffered through Wilds. So now is the big question. Is Chapter 4 the worst chapter? I don't think so. I think that Chapter 5 is a decent amount worse than Chapter 4. I think that there were a lot of fun parts of Chapter 4, and there just weren't a lot of fun parts of Chapter 5. As much of a hater as I am of Chapter 4, I don't think that any of it was truly that bad. And I can't really say the same about Chapter 5. And Chapter 5 missed out on so much potential. I don't think that Chapter 4 really did. I think that Chapter 4 it was what it was, and you just kind of had to accept that. And I think Chapter 5 should have been a lot better, and it wasn't. So I think that Chapter 5 is substantially worse than Chapter 4. So no, I don't believe that Chapter 4 is the worst chapter. But anyways, that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. You guys have been absolutely killing it lately. Thank you guys so much for 3,000 subscribers. It's amazing. Just be sure to like, subscribe, use code Brivy, join the Discord. It should be in the top of the description. Anyways, I love you. Enjoy the rest of your day, and stay safe out there.